A major bill now passes the Senate, but are Republicans now threatening to oust their new Speaker of the House? I'll let you hear it directly from them. And President Biden gives a warning as the Chinese President Xi Jinping is here in the United States after they just had the meeting. And China vows to be unstoppable in retaking Taiwan, which would further give everybody's thoughts to if we're in World War III, this would confirm a massive World War III. All the details in this video. Let's jump right in. Thank you so much for liking these videos. And if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any new details. Here we go. So the Senate passes their short-term government funding continuing resolution. However, some Republicans do not like this. In fact, more Republicans voted against this than the last time they had a continuing resolution because this really doesn't get much done. In fact, this was the reason they started the bill to oust Kevin McCarthy. And, well, this is the same thing. In fact, Congress, for the last year since the new Congress came in, has really gotten almost nothing done. This bill includes no support for Israel, which we're supposed to be an ally of theirs, and we have largely done nothing to help them, and no support for Ukraine, which even the new speaker, Mike Johnson, has said that we have to prevent Vladimir Putin from winning over there because the message it would send to China, the message it would send to Hamas and terrorists across the world, that they could just do things like that and then win, the message it would send out of there, and now the message it would send, I'll get to the China story here in a moment, the message it sends is that you could eventually go and attack countries, take over their land, and eventually win. Well, you guys can let me know your thoughts on this. Take a listen to what Republicans are saying, that they're not happy with what is being done here in Congress. In fact, some Republicans are saying they're giving him a 10-day warning and maybe going to be potentially ousting him. Take a listen here.
First, you can, but I want to let the print reporters get some time. So, all right. So you saw today that the rule for CJS failed to garner the votes to pass. We want the message to be clear to the American people and to our leadership. We are done with the failure theater here. We're not going to pass bills that don't address the problems that America faces. Nothing in here to defund the new FBI headquarters. Nothing to defund the unconstitutional gun registry. The bill is very, very weak, and also I must say the closed rule on Iran, with the president out there offering Iran $10 billion in the light of what just happened in Israel, is unacceptable. It's unacceptable to have a closed rule where we can't actually get the legislation that will deny the president's ability to send that money to Iran and embolden our enemies and have American citizens paying both sides of that war. So we've had enough. We're sending a shot across the bow. We do this in good faith. We want to see these bills move. We want to see good, righteous policy, but we're not going to be part of the failure theater anymore. I want to turn to Andy Biggs, if he's here, and then Chip Roy.
Yeah, thanks. Ditto with what the chairman said, and I would also throw in continued funding for the FBI headquarters. Killing that amendment was ridiculous. But I want to point out, I want to talk about something else. We had an amendment on the floor today to defund the office that has misplaced over 100,000 unaccompanied children. We don't know where they are, but we do know many of them have been placed with pedophiles. There's been no vetting and inadequate vetting because this administration changed the vetting. And Republicans killed that amendment. That is unacceptable. We have got to hold this administration accountable. We have to hold our fellow Republicans who allow this kind of tyranny to go forward, and we should not be funding that. So I'm going to turn it over to Chip Roy.
Yeah, look, I agree with Scott and I agree with Andy. Let's be very clear about what's going on. We set out this year to change the way this place works. We wanted to change the rules. We wanted to restore regular order. We wanted to get to the place where the people's voice could be heard regardless of whether you're in leadership or not. Our election certificates are every bit as valuable as somebody who has the title speaker or chairman. The fact of the matter is, what we saw yesterday unfold by passing by suspension of the rules, $400 billion of continuing resolution of Pelosi's priorities and Pelosi's spending levels, that is unacceptable. Today, they tried to pass a closed rule on Iran, which, while it was a bill that was targeted towards the $6 billion, it paled in comparison to amendments that we had that would have actually checked Iran the way they need to be checked, by getting rid of the waiver authority that this administration is abusing to side with Iran over Israel. What on earth is going on? Israel is under attack, and we're funding through the CR yesterday Hamas, through dollars that go to the United Nations, through UNRWA. That is unacceptable. We can't do that. We can't have a closed rule and not have a full-throated debate about checking Iran. This is not why Republican voters send Republicans to Washington. So we're standing up, and we said no today. And the Speaker has now 10 days to work it out and get Republicans to actually stand up and fight when we get back. He's promising a fight, so we're sending a message right now. We expect that fight when we get back from Thanksgiving. We need a plan to reduce spending overall from 23 to 24, pay for any supplemental spending, stop spending blank check money to Ukraine, stand with Israel, hold the Senate in check, and do what we need to do to secure the southern border. That's what the voters expect us to do, and that's the message we wanted to send today going home for Thanksgiving.
I would just add, on the heels of this CR that kept in place all the Biden, Pelosi, Schumer policies and spending levels that are destroying the country, you have, if any bill we should be cutting spending on, it would be this bill, a rogue Department of Justice, a rogue FBI, and we're actually increasing that spending and doing very little in the way of correcting a federal government that's weaponized against its citizens, abusing its power. And so we sent a major statement to that effect today, and we're not going to continue to do business as usual here in Washington. We want to support our Speaker in bringing the change that needs to be brought on behalf of the American people.
I was just going to say, going back to what Representative Biggs said, if it was these members' children, I can guarantee you they wouldn't have supported that bill. So to put it in perspective, we're up here. There is a moral aspect to this fight. And frankly, to include what happened with the FBI and the weaponized DOJ, we have the ability to make change. A lot of people will go on television and tell you one thing, but they're doing another thing when it comes to votes and behind closed doors. And we're going to be holding them accountable, to include this Speaker. We like him a lot. He's a nice guy, but we're going to make sure that he follows through on what he said he was going to do.
This also comes as Republican House Representative George Santos says he will not seek re-election. This is the first time he's actually said that he will not do anything, as new details come out following a scathing House ethics report on his spending of election funds. Health Ethics Committee found substantial evidence that Santos broke multiple laws and will refer its finding, including new uncharged conduct, to the Justice Department. And the House Ethics Committee heads to move to expel George Santos after release of the damning report. They will do this when they get back from Thanksgiving break. So, they've already voted once and they did not oust him. Now they're going to vote again after these new details have come out. We will see. After President Biden's meeting here with the Chinese President Xi Jinping, President Biden calls him a dictator after China vows to be, quote, unstoppable in retaking Taiwan. This is a major concern. Yeah. So, honestly, this is a perfect time for China to attempt to do this with two major wars going on here. The United States and NATO kind of spread a little bit thin if China were to try to do this. Let's hope they don't. I'll let you hear what Biden said here in a second directly from him. A spokeswoman for the Chinese government vowed her country would be, quote, unstoppable in eventually retaking Taiwan. So that goes to show you what China and their actual spokeswomen or spokespeople are saying here. Here's what Biden had to say, two different parts here. Take a listen here.
As you know, I just concluded several hours of meetings with President Xi, and I believe they were some of the most constructive and productive discussions we've had. I've been meeting with President Xi since both of us were vice president over 10 years ago. Our meetings have always been candid and straightforward. We haven't always agreed, but they've been straightforward. And today, build on the groundwork we laid over the past several months of high-level diplomacy between our teams. We've made some important progress, I believe. First, I'm pleased to announce that after many years of being on hold, we are restarting cooperation between the United States and PRC on counter-narcotics. In 2019, you may remember, China took action to greatly reduce the amount of fentanyl shipped directly from China to the United States. But in the years since that time, the challenge has evolved from finished fentanyl to fentanyl chemical ingredients and pill presses, which are being shipped without control. And by the way, some of these pills are being inserted in other drugs like cocaine. A lot of people are dying. More people in the United States between the ages of 18 and 49 die from fentanyl than from guns, car accidents, or any other cause, period. So today, with this new understanding, we're taking action to significantly reduce the flow of precursor chemicals and pill presses from China to the Western Hemisphere. It's going to save lives, and I appreciate President Xi's commitment on this issue.
Now, hopefully this actually happens and we get more and more of this stuff off the streets. As you can see here, fentanyl is up to 100 times stronger than other opioids like morphine, heroin, or oxycodone. 100 times stronger. This is why people die from it so easily and is a massive, massive problem. It looks like in 2022, 75,000 people approximately died in the US from fentanyl overdoses alone. And this is what was reported. Honestly, it's probably a lot more than that. And it's more than double the amount of deaths from the 3 years prior. So it's rising rapidly at an exponential amount. And again, this is only what's reported. There's probably a lot of deaths that don't actually get reported. You know, the family doesn't report that it was a drug overdose. And you can only imagine that this number could be a lot higher. Also, President Biden, at the end of his report, went on to say this.
And Mr. President, after today, would you still refer to President Xi as a dictator? This is a term that you used earlier this year.
Well, look, he is. I mean, he's a dictator in the sense that he is the guy who runs a country that is a communist country that's based on a form of government totally different than ours.
So thanks everybody. If you haven't yet, please make sure to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss out on any new videos that come out here every day at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can click this video over here to see my video with the FBI's warning of attacks that could come out here in the United States. Thanks, and we will see you guys in the next video.